everyone. Welcome back to San Diego Comic-Con on this fine Friday. Been quite a 3 years, hasn't it? Yes, it has. Hello for all of you who probably don't know who I am. My name is Kofi Outlaw. I used to be with a site called Screen Rant. I am now with a site called comicbook.com. I also host a fine little podcast called Comic Book Nation, your one-stop shop for all things geek culture, which streams on Paramount Plus along with some other stuff I feel like people in this room might be familiar with. Maybe some of you heard of that Paramount Plus streaming service, some of the content they have over there. A little series called Star Trek, anybody? So yes, in the last 3 years since we have all seen each other in these halls, out of all the chaos out there, one thing that has been a beacon, I'm sure, to all of us in here, has been Star Trek and the big kind of resurgence we've seen in Star Trek, which has continued up until this point with the newest series you guys may or may not have heard about, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And I don't know about you guys, but as somebody as a lifelong sci-fi fan, after the last 3 years, I'm kind of changing up my bingo card. Things seem like they're getting serious. I'm betting on like which franchises I've seen and which of those futures I might want to end up in. And strangely enough, Star Trek seems to be rising to the top of that pile, right? Right about now, visions of a future where we can all come together, get over some of these massive problems and achieve a better kind of, not perfect utopia, at least striving for that with themes like tolerance, discovery, acceptance, and all of these positive themes that we so desperately need in the world right about now. So yes, I am happy to have Star Trek back, not for my own selfish reasons as a lifelong fan who was raised on Next Generation by his father, as, good parenting should entail, but just as somebody who also now has kids and is really banking on that Star Trek future. So, to further that end and help push us a little further towards that Star Trek future, we are here today with this panel called Across the Universe and Your Screens, the Star Trek experience, which will be taking a look at everything from the content that we got in Star Trek Strange New World to the Star Trek Fleet Command mobile game. Anybody here playing Star Trek Fleet Command? Well, by the end of this, you guys got to recruit everybody else in this room because I don't know if there's ever been a better opportunity for some good Fleet Command battles than all like-minded people sitting in this room. But for this panel today, we are going to be taking a look across all things Star Trek, the Star Trek universe, and talking about how the franchise is kind of thriving and what it's doing right now and how it's offering its fans experiences across multiple platforms with stories that carry over across these platforms in very relevant and powerful ways to make a more immersive Star Trek experience that kind of isn't fitting with the, technological future that we all love and watch in this so very often. So, join me this morning with welcoming our panel of guests. We have from Paramount, Miss Erica Winterholler is here. And from Scopely, the fine team that brings you Star Trek Fleet Command, we have Mr. David Eckelberry. And last but certainly far from least, we have your new favorite captain, Captain Christopher Pike himself. Mr. Anson Mount is with us today. It's okay to stand up if you want to stand up. Go ahead, it's okay.
Hey! How's it going?
Anson, thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, pleasure.
We, of course, got to know your version of Captain Christopher Pike first in Star Trek Discovery Season 2, but this is a different time. You are now here. Star Trek Strange New Worlds is here. The fan response, I think, speaks for itself. Yes, guys? So please tell us, how is it been stepping out into your own series and leading your own series as Captain Christopher Pike?
It's been, it's a childhood dream come true. I've been quoted several times as saying that Star Trek was my make-believe show as a child, and that's true. So it's bizarre in a way. It makes you believe that dreams come true, and it's amazing to be able to go to a job where every day you say to yourself, I can't believe I get to do this. And getting to meet this amazing family that is the Star Trek fan base is the highlight of that. So it's going pretty good.
Okay, all right. Erica, we first met Captain Pike in Star Trek Discovery. He's now in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and Strange New Worlds is also now part of Star Trek Fleet Command. So as one of the people responsible for wrangling this all together, how is it trying to manage all of this Star Trek content across all of these platforms?
Yeah, it's been actually also kind of an awesome dream. It's such a fun job. I really get to, for the last decade, I've been able to bring Star Trek beyond the television screen into these different platforms across console games, mobile games, VR games, and it's really been fun to make sure that it's authentic and really true to the experience that you see on screen. And it's been awesome. Working with Scopely and Star Trek Fleet Command is really a gold star example of that experience, because not only do they really bring all that you see on screen in a new platform and a new type of medium. They do it authentically, and I think even all the way through the marketing, like some of that marketing that I'm sure all of you have seen because it's everywhere, has just been so much fun and such a great evolution of what you see on screen, what you see in the experience, and then bringing in that kind of fandom and kind of just telling that story. It's also so awesome to be able to work with the franchise teams on our side. The brand teams have decades of experience with working with this brand, and so to be able to really work closely with them as well as our top-notch production team to make sure that, again, what you see in these experiences is top-notch, and it is a definite dream also.
David, Erica, you guys have been longtime partners working on this kind of collaboration for Star Trek. What would you say it is like the challenges of managing all these storylines under one roof across these platforms, specifically in the games?
Yeah, I mean, making video games is both really hard and, my dream. I went to school and used an English literature degree to get a job in video games, and now I get to write stories about him in video games. Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know. It's been a 5-year mission for us building Star Trek Fleet Command. We just, for the long time development, the game's been live for 3 years. We've got tens of millions of people probably watching Paramount Plus right now and watching all this cool Star Trek stories. Now I get tens of millions of players playing my video game, and that's just so cool. And nothing prepared me for this. I mean, when I was very young, I got to watch Kirk and Spock at 11 p.m. in the local syndicate TV show station, and I've been following it ever since. And now the amazing thing is I get to take the characters that are built here, and I get to tell new stories with them. And the way we do that is we try to just work with our partners at Paramount. We try to be really loyal to create cool characters and storylines where we interweave stories into our game. So across one story, the amazing Captain Christopher Pike goes down to a planet, plays with their politics a little bit. Some things go well, some things don't. And we continue that story. So what happens next is an experience that, in the episodic kind of storytelling that you're doing, we can go and tell a little bit of a sequel. And That's the real cool, amazing promise of these little screens combining with the big screens is we don't have to separate them anymore, right? We work with amazing talented partners, and so I can interweave cool stories in the midst of things. One episode airs on Paramount Plus, and then you go inside a game, a virtual experience, and you continue it. And there's no reason to ever leave Captain Christopher Pike behind.
Yeah, and I just want to add just how awesome it's been working with Scopely to manage these storylines. We've really put the best team together, I think internally on our side as well as the Scopely side. It is such a feat to have that day and date content, and it's really awesome that they were able to accomplish that and work closely with our internal production teams as well. It's a big, massive feat. So
it's been fun.
I applaud you guys for doing that.
David, what is it like for you guys to have to take this content and add and expand onto the Star Trek universe?
Well, I mean, it starts with we get sneak peeks of your content before it's released, which is awesome, and kind of a sad spoiler for when you're watching the episode sometimes. But then we try to build our own stories based on it. So we allow our players to come in and make actual decisions. So they're facing dilemmas just like your character faces dilemmas, and they have to figure out how they want to solve it. Because ultimately, one form of media is watching it and enjoying it and talking about it with your friends. The next stage of media is interacting with it, right? So that's going into the game experience and making your own decisions, because everyone wants to either be Pike or spend time with Pike. And that's the wish fulfillment we can offer in games and in video games of the future. We're not at the holodeck yet. I guess you're not at the holodeck yet, are you?
Well, okay. It's in canon in the literature. It exists, but in the TV world, no. There's no holodeck yet. So we haven't quite reconciled what we're going to do with that.
Well, you did a
Guess I shouldn't have said that, huh?
no spoilers.
Anson,
Yeah.
building off of that, what is it like for you to know that there is now Game Pike out there in addition to your performance as Pike on Strange New Worlds?
Look, I remember the first day that my mother brought me to a video arcade in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and I was 6, and I remember it like it was yesterday. She had to get one of those little booster stands, plastic booster stands to stand me on, or she may have even had to hold me up because I was so small, and put a quarter in this thing, and I played this thing called Space Invaders. And it blew my mind, and I was hooked.
State-of-the-art graphics.
And then my parents refused to get me an Atari. And now parents, listen to me. The sweetest fruit is that denied. It turned me, once I got older and had a little bit of money, I realized, I can go get a game system. Oh man, it's been downhill ever since then. I'm still a video game connoisseur. So it's really cool, and the concept that I can go and play myself I'm not sure how I feel about that. It is maybe some kind of weird ethereal comeuppance for an actor. I don't know, but I would say it's pretty cool, and I think it's further cool that there are other people who get to step into those shoes and make those decisions, not just from a writing standpoint, but from a character standpoint, or really, no, not just from a character standpoint, but from an actor's standpoint. Because we were just talking about this in the green room, the choices that are provided for any given character, there's maybe the ones you would expect, and then there are ones that are totally the opposite. And I think it's cool that you can make those choices based upon your curiosity or who you believe Pike is. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think it's really awesome the evolution that you have brought to the character Pike from the original series, and how
I don't read the scripts, so I wouldn't
and how authentically the Scopely team, working with our franchise team, have been able to bring your version of Captain.
Is this an earthquake? I'm sorry. What the hell is going on?
Trying to
That
make
would be the
happen.
Comic-Con sound system from a neighboring room, yeah,
Good
for Hall
God.
H, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to.
You don't need to jump under the table.
Please talk more about me.
No. Speaking of choices, no, we do not have to run. We're good. That was just the Hall H sound system. That is what we're all feeling right now. Yeah.
Well, we did have to alter our physics engine to create you. We didn't have hair that would stand up that straight inside our game. And so the hair physics really had to
Did
change.
you really? Oh my.
So we can
it's
officially
just that we had to
say-
make the box of hair over a character's head be a little taller. You know?
I mean, I think that needs to go on the resume. Captain Pike has next-gen level hair.
Here's my question: does it screw you up when I ad lib?
No, please keep going.
Great. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah, more.
It adds more choices, more
It
elements.
does. The more different things you can do is the more different things we can do.
All right.
In the game.
Good deal.
David, obviously, getting to play as Captain Christopher Pike is a massive selling point, but what other fun elements of Star Trek Strange New Worlds are coming to Star Trek Fleet Command?
So the way we tell our stories in Star Trek Fleet Command is we tell them over arcs, much like Paramount Plus would, do a 10-episode series. We'll choose to stay with a particular part of the Star Trek multiverse and history for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, depending on how much we love it and how much you love it, right? So we've been telling stories now for the last 2 months with Strange New Worlds. We'll have one more set of stories. So some of our stories will touch back, we play with time. So some of the characters that at the end of your series aren't easily available for us to play with, we're still going to play with at least one more time, and maybe they're in jail, or maybe something might have happened to them or something. But we love embracing all of the characters of that space, and we tell stories with all of them, right? So we get to see the funny jokes between Ortega and Uhura and see them continue to fire their quips back and forth. I don't know how much of that was ad-lib, but we just keep ad-libbing and keep building on it.
Cool.
And then next month we'll conclude our 3-month arc in Star Trek Fleet Command about Strange New Worlds and move on to our next story. We kind of keep mixing in new stuff from Paramount Plus, which we've been really happy to see, new Star Trek content, with the 30-something years of 50-something years. I'm good with math, literature major, remember, and of all the Star Trek content that's come before.
And you've talked about it, but for people who may not know it in detail, can you just elaborate a little bit more about what it was, the process of taking Anson Mount and getting his version of Captain Christopher Pike into the game?
Well, yeah. Basically, we get shots, and then like in any video game, you see Captain Pike looks like he's getting crucified. So your art team comes in and he looks like this. Yep, like that. That's you. And again with the hair extension in our engine. And then we take and bring that character in several different ways. So he becomes an officer that you can unlock.
He's devastatingly good looking.
Part of that process is we keep sending versions of characters. So we do a rough sketch and send it to your talent team, and they give us feedback of how to make it look even more devastatingly handsome. I don't know if that's possible, but we try. And after a few rounds of feedback, everyone's happy, and you're in our game. And so it both becomes someone that you can literally play with and see all these stories that we make over our arcs, but then it becomes permanently part of our Star Trek universe. And so you can have Captain Christopher Pike, Captain on the Enterprise, but you could also have him on Captain of the Enterprise D, right? You could also bring in and have Worf, to be the officer next to him that you're commanding, right? So all of that is possible. And every one of these characters gets, of course, it's a game, so there's statistics and special abilities.
Quick
You're really
thinking.
Quick thinking. You're really good
Definitely.
with raising the shields.
Definitely.
You don't think
Okay.
you're quick thinking?
That's why Pike has to ask everybody what to do.
Again, no, that's why I love the evolution of that character.
I
that you
believe
brought to
quick
it.
delegation does still count as quick thinking.
Yeah, and you involve your team, you involve all the right people,
Well, what I find fascinating about what you do is I've always felt that creativity is nurtured in a box. That stricture, that the sort of loose corseting of ideas and necessities, obstacles, they engender creativity. They force you to think outside of that box in order to make it fit, right?
Yeah.
Because you're having to deal with not just canon, which is an encyclopedia in and of itself, but what the network is expecting and what the fans are expecting, what the storyline is coming at you all the time.
What the game expects too. There's a whole nother element.
I'm wondering, do you crave that kind of here? Give me the rules. Give me the outlay. Is that easier for you? Is it more difficult for you?
It is more difficult, but you got to rise to meet that challenge, right? So one of our biggest challenges is the reason that our game has been around for years and people keep playing it is we keep making stuff really aggressively. So it's not an episode a week. Well, sometimes it is, but we release new content every single month. And we've been doing that now for 3.5 years. And the reason that we have, if you care about such things in the video game world, industry-leading retention KPIs. Sorry, I have to do business for a second. But the reason that our players stay around, that's what that really means, is that month to month to month, compared to our competitors, is they love Star Trek, and we release new Star Trek every month. And that's the challenge of the box, is that we've got something cool to tell for August, and my team is back home in Dublin, Ireland, doing something cool to tell in September, October, November, December, and already building some stuff for next year, right? And it's an adrenaline race always. And that's the challenge, is how can we do something awesome within the constraints we have of time, sometimes weekends, sometimes evenings, we love what we do, and so that makes the job, for all of its challenges, fun, and makes you something you love. And yeah.
Sorry, just one more question. I'll let you moderate. But when did things change in terms of player expectation with updating?
Yeah.
Because we're not CDs anymore, right? And so there's now this, it seems to me, quite an expectation that games have to continue to evolve even after the purchase point.
Very much so, right? Originally, I had an Atari 2600, sorry. And,
oh, no.
And I
That's
don't know
fine,
if you're still...
That's fine.
Are you okay?
I'm over it now.
Okay, all right. And yeah, you downloaded the cartridge or the CD disc and you played it. Downloaded. You're right. You installed maybe at most. You stuck it in, I guess that's really what I'm saying.
You went to the store and you bought it.
There's this cartridge, this plastic
There's
cartridge.
plastic cartridge. I still have my 2600 if you want to come over sometime. 40-something cartridges. But the real answer is, went back in that era of Atari 2600, even Xbox, whatever. Hey, look, there's a new video game this month, or this new video game this 6-month period, and everyone plays it. And that's the world we used to live in. The world we live in today is there will be about 100 different games released for your phone today, at least. Now, most of them, none of you will ever hear of. And part of the world we live in. There are so much choices, much like there's so many streaming choices for content. The world we live in entertainment is we've got 1 billion of these or 2 billion of these around the planet, and we've got 1 million people making content for it or more. And the reason we make content every month is because if we didn't, my competition in some sense is waiting for me, right? If I can presume, why do I think Paramount has so many awesome shows up? They want a great network that every week you have something cool and awesome there so that you stay part of the Star Trek world.
Yeah, and as part of our consumer products and experiences team, we want to add, we only get to see you an episode, an hour a week. And so to be able to add to that, it's very important for us too to continue that experience beyond the TV screen or iPad screen or computer screen, wherever you're streaming it.
Well, David, you just said quite a lot, but speaking of the box, this is Comic-Con. We have some of our most dedicated fans who kind of come to this room, so are there any surprises, additional character surprises of things that you can tease for Star Trek Fleet Command?
Of course. This is Comic-Con. So we have a few more characters to get out to you when you're playing Strange New Worlds next month, and I think the fans will be really excited about that. We have a great, the 10 episodes told a series of episodic stories at the same time that they were telling character arcs, and that's what I really love, that balance. We have our own arc that we've been building stories of, and we're going to draw that to a conclusion, first of all. And that's going to be really exciting. We have our own surprises to tell at the same time that, we won't be killing any characters or driving any characters because we love them all and we want our players to be able to play them. Yeah, you're mean. And then the next thing, we like to weave in both history of Star Trek, legacy content of 50 corrected years of Star Trek, and mix in the new. So our next arc will take us back into, older Star Trek content, and stuff that we've never done before involves a space station near a certain wormhole. And so we're going to be telling stories there for a while. That's our next up kind of content. And I didn't say the name, thus I didn't leak anything. Just people who really know might have picked up on it a little bit.
Yeah, it's really exciting for us to lean into the depth and breadth of characters, content, storylines, tech, ships, et cetera, that to add constantly to this experience for the long time to come.
Yeah, and the biggest surprise, sorry, I know this wasn't your question, we do these surveys of our players and we say, what do you love besides Anson and his hair, right? And they give us all these different answers, but one of the fascinating things that it is, our game is fairly, deep, rich, long-lasting, somewhat complicated game. You have all these ships and characters interacting, and if you fall in love with it, you fall in love with it and you play almost forever, right? People have been playing the game for 4 years straight. But we did a survey. We were like, what did you play before starting to play Star Trek Fleet Command? And we got a very surprising answer. And the answer was, the most popular answer, Candy Crush. Not what we expected.
Or is it just that everyone is playing Candy Crush?
Yeah, there's that too.
Now I have to see the Venn diagram between Candy Crush and Star Trek.
And the answers were varied. It was like 23% was Candy Crush, but that was more than anything else.
Considering how deep and rich this Star Trek Fleet Command experience is, and how simple Candy Crush is, that is a very interesting.
It is a surprise, but let me tell you why, and you all should already know this answer. We had people who had never played a complicated game. Like, you think about the history of mobile phones, they've only been out 10, 12-ish years, and people have been playing more interesting, more deep, and more complicated experiences. One of the challenges, much like the special effects of Star Trek over the course of history have gotten better and better and better, at least I think objectively we can agree to that, the Gorn look a bit different than they did on TOS, a little scarier. These devices that we have in our pockets are capable of wielding technology that is better than a console generation ago. And so all of our fans expecting us to really impress them. Our TV shows look like movies from only a few years ago, and the special effects, the writing, all of it has risen to a standard that we could never have expected. Similarly now, we're doing such amazing things with visual effects on a phone, and I've gotten really off topic, wow. But where I wanted to go with that is Candy Crush is not something that is anything like our game. But what united all of those people who were playing Candy Crush or other very casual experiences, they love Star Trek. And they came to us for more Star Trek. And so that is the only answer that mattered, right? That has meant that we keep searching. Originally, history of Star Trek, Fleet Command we only had the Kelvinverse. It was the only thing that at the time was airing, right? Those 3 films was the only thing we had of our content. And then the success of the game, the release of Discovery, and then keep going after that with Strange New Worlds Beyond, we said, hey, Paramount, let's do more, right? Let's go deeper and richer into Star Trek. And that's how, over the last year and a half, we added Next Generation, TOS, and all of this into the game.
And you guys have done it with such care, too, to make it really, because, if you look at the timeline, it technically would not make sense, but of course there is always a way in Star Trek.
There's a lot of wormholes and time crystals and things that we leap around a lot, right? So, yeah.
And Erica, what can you tease about the future of this partnership?
I mean, like I mentioned, Scopely's been a gold standard for us in terms of partnership for bringing authentic experiences. I mean, the fact that people are playing this game for 4+ hours a day, 5+ hours a day is phenomenal. And obviously that's not something that we want to stop anytime soon. It's obviously something that's beneficial for everyone. So I think the idea is that we're just continuing to support this product in a meaningful way, and hopefully we can do more day and date I mean, that was, again, a tremendous feat by everyone involved. And so it's really exciting that we do have so much more coming with the universe that we can potentially tie in and lean to.
It's actually really fun. There's like one guy on my team who gets all the spoilers. He's our lead writer. And so the scripts get kind of like sent to him in a sealed box. He can only look at it in a room. And there are levels of security here. And you know, I was like, so Brian, tell me what happens. He's like, I've signed an NDA. I can't tell you, boss. That is literally my job. I don't get to know what's going to happen. So.
We started this panel by talking about how Star Trek has remained this beacon for so many of us, especially in the context of the last 3 years since we've seen each other at things like Comic-Con. And how, you know, I am personally, you know, banking on that Star Trek future that we need to kind of get to, but it has been such a positive beacon. And Strange New Worlds in particular has kind of solicited this consensus from fans that who enjoy, aside from the episodicness, the kind of hope and brightness and the spirit that they remember of some of the original Star Trek coming back, but in a nice kind of modern way. So my question to you, Anson, is you, Sonequa, Martin Green, you guys are becoming our captains at a very different time in the era of the Star Trek franchise. In the context of everything we just kind of have been talking about here, what interests you as an actor, or has been something you've really responded to as an actor playing Christopher Pike in the first season, and what interests you as an actor kind of going forward with this character?
There are very few things that I can say I know about any given character. But one of those things is that, a very broad way of putting it, but if Kirk represented sort of machismo and Picard represented the intellect, I wanted Pike to represent the heart. I really think that the decision in second season of Discovery to make Pike aware of his future was a very smart one, because it took what was a tragic ending and turned it into an active choice. And that the repercussions and the fallout from that choice, which we explored in season 1, really helped to put the more pins in sort of who this guy was, when he really came to the point of realizing, okay, I'm being told I have a choice. Like, there's not there in that last season of season 1, when old Pike says to young Pike, I'm here to show you the repercussions. He never says you don't have a choice anymore. He still has a choice. But when he realizes what those choices are, there really isn't a choice, because he knows he can't live with one. And so I feel like in that sense, having gotten past that now, the fully fledged Pike, the whole self-accepting Pike has really just started, right? And and I hope that we get to deliver the third act Pike, and find a unique way of overlapping with TOS.
Can we just talk about that finale for a moment? Because you just touched on something that's so interesting to me. In conversations I've had, I heard a lot of people came with feedback that they were pleasantly so surprised about the finale episode, that they thought that Pike's dread about his fate and things like that would be something that could go on for a long time in some other TV shows. But how powerful it was in the finale to have him have to confront all that and come out the other side with the resolution that he did. And it was just so beautifully shown in, especially that last scene, sorry, spoilers, with you and Ethan Peck's Spock. I'm not saying I'm cried, but I'm saying the person who was next to me definitely cried. I don't know what his problem was, but
what I felt myself thinking a lot about when we were doing that episode was like how many stories and people that you meet who have been given a terminal diagnosis who will tell you, I've never been more alive, right? Because suddenly all the crap you thought that mattered doesn't matter anymore. And I thought that kind of put him in that space.
I didn't even ask the question. Are we still debating the quick thinking thing? No, I didn't even get the question. But yes, that was going to be my question. What was it as an actor that you centered on to get to that powerful thing of a person who knows the terrible fate but still embraces the choice that he does? So beautifully, beautifully answered.
Shall I answer your next question?
Playing with time.
Is telepathy a part of this skill?
I actually have one for David and Erica. I was interested, as Strange New Worlds was kind of kicking off, how fast did you guys kind of see the response or desire from the gamers to get that element of the franchise into the game?
I wish I could tell you we were like, hearing about the excitement and we were like, we got to do Strange New Worlds. The reality of video game production is we don't have that kind of freedom. I could change things if I run back to the office and say, we're going to change January. I could change things and the team would be really upset. But we've been building to this for a long time. And thankfully, one of the, you had your own prequel series effectively in Discovery. We were able to plan for it too. We had to figure out when exactly it was going to air and because we wanted to be up at the same time. But the fact that we knew most of the cast, we knew, the lead from Discovery meant that we had a great anchor point. We know what his character is going to be like. We know what the kind of stories that we could tell. We won't always have that, freedom and ability. There won't always have the opportunity to tell a story knowing who the characters are in advance. But it gave us a lot of grounding. Now, when we started, we didn't know that you had to play kind of doomed Nordic hero, right? Going off to Valhalla in our plans, but that's a story for later. But the essential Boy Scout nature of your character had already come through in Disco, and I think that we knew how to play with that for a good West. I hope that answers.
Well, and to add to the boring logistical piece of this, we are in constant planning mode with Scopely on Star Trek Fleet Command. Like you mentioned, we're planning things out already in 2023. So to be able to, we just have to sync constantly on what our initiatives are and what our goals are, and Scopely rises to the occasion and really starts the production process.
Yeah. I mean, and I just gave you that clue about how long video game production processes are. All of this was surprising to me too. When I got started, I was a lit major and a theater major. I just failed out of doing his exciting work, and now I do make video games, right? But the answer is that video games are always going to be a challenge, and it is the size of the box. We get to play around with this sandbox, and we get to break our edges against it, sometimes push the boundaries of what Paramount exactly is ready for. But at the same time, that's the privilege of working with an amazing IP like this, right? That we are sharing a space with so many other creative people, other board games and card games and video games, and all the different Star Trek series that is on TV and Paramount Plus. I don't know, I never thought I'd get to play with these toys in a way that millions of you could play with these toys with me. And it's just awesome, right? It's just fun, right? So, if you can't, be an amazing screenwriter or actor and join Star Trek that way, polish up your literature degree, work on your coding background, do your art, and come join me in the video game industry, because it's a lot of fun too. So.
And I think this is going to be about my final question. If, for everybody on the panel, let's bring this all together. Star Trek Fleet Command, you get your choice to pick one character and/or one ship. Who are you going with?
This is indelicate, isn't it?
You can't pick yourself. You cannot pick yourself. No picking self. It has to be possibly somebody else.
Wait. What was the so what? One ship and one captain?
And you can pick, or just you can pick the character and the ship if you want, or just one of them.
Okay. Am I going? Is there?
I think I have
Yeah.
an answer if you need to think about it.
I found that when I was being walked through parts of the game I haven't gotten to yet, just a little while ago, and I saw a quick shot of Michelle, and so I thought, oh God, I'd love to play Giorgio and see.
She's badass.
That would be fun, right?
There, yeah, that's a good answer. That is a good
What a
answer.
complicated captain that would be.
Yeah.
But also the most fun, too.
Yeah,
That's
she's
gonna,
she's
Best
probably my
outfits.
favorite.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
That is a great answer. Now
The
I'm
ship.
rethinking. my answer.
I don't know.
Quick thinking, definitely.
Something out of her era, maybe D.
Erica?
I was gonna say Riker and the original Enterprise.
There you go. I think that's a good answer, too. And pressure now on you. I'm sorry, David.
Well, after the 12-hour flight to Ireland that I took yesterday, and the 12-hour flight I'll be
To
taking
Ireland? No.
to Ireland tonight, and from Ireland, I need sleep. Sorry, what time is it in Ireland right
Yes,
now?
poor David.
I think I have the answer from the game experience. Discovery breaks all the rules, right? So instead of waiting for my ship to warp across our game galaxy for 5 or 10 minutes, Discovery says you're there. Anywhere in the galaxy instantaneously. And we brought the laws of physics even further because all the player has this fleet of ships, right? You're not just kind of a single captain, you kind of get to play the role as this hidden admiral controlling all the different captains and ships. And so Discovery and Star Trek Fleet Command, you can instantly teleport to anywhere in the game, and then you can bring a friend. Right, because it's a social game. And so the hole in space that Discovery rips, you quickly fly your other ship through it, and it goes there too. So, I don't know, if I had a ship to choose, that sounds pretty amazing right now to get home.
Strong power-ups. Never a bad choice. All right, guys, this has been Across the Universe and your screens, the Star Trek experience. Star Trek Fleet Command is out there for mobile gaming. Please check that out. Like I said at the start, I don't think you're going to have a better opportunity to find some like-minded people to jump into this with, so take this opportunity. We're all back together. Star Trek Strange New Worlds is streaming on Paramount+. Be sure to check that out if you have not. And I think that's about it. Thank you guys for coming out. Have a good rest of the con. Live long, prosper. I don't have my Klingon dialect down to do that, so please forgive me, but have a good day.